Another prime example of the chaos sanctuary cities have wrought. Cops are hunting down what they say is the minor league gang for Tren de Aragua, who call themselves Los Diablos de 42. It's made up of kids from Venezuela who are here illegally. They're accused of attacking NYPD officers in Times Square, hurling glass bottles, basketballs, even a scooter. So far, 5 have been arrested. 3 more are on the lam. One of the pint-sized punks that got arrested is just 12. Apparently, he's the leader of a theft ring in Central Park. Border czar Tom Homan shipping up to New York to address the situation.
These people are in the country illegally. This is just another example of sanctuary cities not cooperating with ICE. And look what happened. NYPD officers are attacked. If you're brazen enough to attack an armed law enforcement officer, you're much more dangerous to an unarmed civilian. We're coming for them.
And as Tom Homan hunts down the teen migrant gang, Trump's racking up accolades for being the law and order president.
It speaks to one of Trump's best issues, right? The idea Alcatraz, you think law and order, you think Donald Trump. So Donald Trump ran in part on law and order. It was one of the reasons that he got elected. And at this particular point, Americans like what they're hearing from him on the issue of crime. And you see this right here with a +2 net approval rating, far better than Joe Biden left office with back in 2024.
I mean, this gang leader, Dana, is 12. What were you doing when you were 12?
Oh, summer fun day camp, like making those little bracelets in camp and things like that.
You weren't throwing a scooter?
And I was probably playing school. I got to play school. I'm sure everybody here, especially the judge, will have a lot of thoughts about this. But one of the things I wanted to say is that it's very frustrating as a taxpayer to be trapped by liberal governance where your taxpayer dollars are going to actually fund things that are against your interests. So, for example, the idea that as a sanctuary city, you're not going to cooperate with Tom Homan and ICE. For what? Who are you protecting? What are we paying for? I'm getting very frustrated about that. And the other issue is, as I understand it, for a lot of these people, they're in the migrant shelters, and the shelters being run by the gangs. And then you have the situation where the gang members then spread out and they use younger and younger people because they know that those people are not going to be punished. And the juvenile system can't take them. And so what do? What does the system have to do? We basically pay to send them back home where they end up in the same situation.
How dangerous is a 12-year-old gang member, Judge Janine?
I've indicted a 12-year-old for murder.
Wow.
Because I think they're dangerous. But that's clearly an exception. But what you've got are these kids are being groomed to be gang members. Remember, this is a foreign terrorist organization. These kids have been arrested dozens of times. This 12-year-old, I mean, this is socially acceptable to them. They throw up the gang signs. They take pictures of themselves. And Tom Homan's right. If you are willing to assault a police officer, you're a dangerous individual. And let me tell you how the Democrats helped make this worse. When I was a DA, there was a move afoot to raise the age of criminal responsibility to 18, which was absurd because at that point it was 16. They raised it to 18. What do you think this 12-year-old is going to face? He's not going into criminal court because it's not a serious enough arrest, okay? It's only if it's a murder, a rape, a kidnapping that you even can consider them for an adult court. But this kid can't go into criminal court, even though there are dozens of arrests, and this is a robbery. But in addition to that, what you've got is a family court that doesn't even handle him if he's 11 years old. If he's 12, maybe if they want to do person in need of supervision, but no one's going to take any responsibility for him and his family. So they're taking over Times Square. They're proud of it. The legal system is cutting them loose. And we've got a police department that is being prevented from protecting, as Dana was saying, American citizens. I'll tell you the way to resolve this. If I'm ICE, I notify NYPD. I tell them, because that's what I did when I was DA. I would tell a jurisdiction, I'm coming in. You want to join us? Great. You don't? We're coming in. All right? And you go in and you make the arrest. Show up at the Roosevelt Hotel. I don't want my taxpayer dollars taking care of people who assault women, throw them up against the wall and rob them, and then we pay for their dinner and their lodging. Are you kidding? And in the end, this is a preventable crime. The Democrats, with cashless bail, raise the age, sanctuary cities are putting Americans in danger.
How soon, Greg, is the media going to call this person a Manhattan teen?
I am. I think that, Judge, you are way out of line. You're being too harsh on these teens. Clearly, they're disadvantaged. The food selection at their hotel is lacking in gluten-free ethnic choices, right? The Wi-Fi is slow. So many things are in English, and that's oppressive and imperialistic. I demand that Senator Van Hollen come to Times Square right now and meet with these young scamps. Share a cherry Coke. Discuss due process. You know what drives me crazy is when you always hear this canard. Is that the word?
I think so.
I'll use it. Illegals commit fewer crimes than actual citizens. And you go, whoa. And then they'll go, well, they also don't report crimes because if you expose that, that'll expose them to deportation. You can't have both. It's a lie. It's a lie. The data always lumps illegal immigrants with legal immigrants. Legal immigrants actually commit fewer crimes. Illegal immigrants, oh, they commit a lot of crimes. They're like 45% more likely to be in a gang. They're 142% more likely to be convicted of a crime, usually more serious and more violent crimes. They make up a disproportionate share of prisons in Arizona. I wonder why. So on top of that, the FBI does miss a lot of the incidents of violence and property crime because they aren't reported, because a lot of the illegal crime is on other illegals in that neighborhood.
That's right.
The FBI estimates maybe it's 40% of violent crime and 30% of property crime. So the next episode says, oh, but you know, they're law-abiding. That's not law-abiding. We see it with our eyes. We know what crime
We
is.
just saw a video of these cops in Tennessee pull over this guy who was human smuggling, and they just let him off.
Yeah.
If they're not, reported, they're just getting let off. Do you have any statistics to refute what Greg just said, Leslie?
Well, one of my statistics, he was already yelling at the drop in property and violent crime since the 90s, but let's not go there. Let's go with, I'm not going to defend violence of any kind because I'm a liberal and we liberals are pacifists for the most part. And in addition to that, I'm pretty conservative when it comes to crime. I sometimes get grief from those in my party when it comes to that. These are the type of people that Democrats and Republicans agree should be deported. But it's how they're deported and it's how they're being kept track of. For example, we have a video here we see with our own eyes. There's no question. But there is a database. And there are people in the database that may not be illegal. There are people in the database that are in there because of tattoos or because on Instagram, I don't know if you've seen, I have 2 kids in high school right now, and gang symbols in their pictures, they think they're like really cool and they're really entitled kids going to private school. But this is the problem. When I looked into it, I'm like, so what is the real problem? What is the ACLU, angry about? And this is it. If we don't have an accurate database of individuals. This is very different because we're seeing it with our own eyes. We see with the video, absolutely no question. And then we go into due process, and then we go into what the judges have said. And now people like to say the liberal judges. There have been 2 judges, one in New York who was appointed by Bill Clinton, but the judge in Colorado that was appointed by Donald Trump, Judge Rodriguez, both agree that the way to deport these people is through the Immigration and Nationality Act in order to remove them, which is already on the books. It is a means that we can legally remove these individuals. Mm-hmm. And individuals like this are what, myself included, we want the violent criminals gone, not the abuelas.
Tren de Aragua is a foreign terrorist organization.
Yep.
All right. I've heard about that private school gang, Leslie. The WASPs. They'll scuff up your docksiders. I was a victim. Victimized repeatedly. Ahead, President Trump smacks the hair gel out of Greasy for letting Hollywood slip into foreign hands.
Joining me now is Tom Holman, White House Borders Czar. Tom, it's great to see you. I've got to ask you about the breaking news that we played at the top of the show, replayed in the angle, the video of this this illegal alien gang and all teens attacking police in Times Square. They're not even trying to hide it. We were told they're part of this group called Los Diablos 42, kind of an offshoot of TDA. What can you tell us?
Well, yeah, I mean, these people are in the country illegally, and the first thing the police commissioner did up there, she's ordered an internal affairs investigation on it. Did someone call ICE? Because we happen to be at the precinct where some of these people were being processed by happenstance, but all of a sudden now there's an internal affairs investigation. Who called ICE? These people are illegal in the country. We just proved to the commissioner, we proved to the city council that wants to lock us out of Rikers Island, that working with Mayor Adams, We just got done 2 weeks ago, indicted 27 members of TDA through a RICO investigation. 21 currently in custody, we're looking for 6. These are people who are murder for hire, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, gun trafficking. We took 27 TDA off the street. ICE, with the cooperation of NYPD, we showed what our partnership can do, and they're already pulling back now because the commissioner is more concerned with who called ICE than working with ICE to get these people not off the street, out of the country. And like I say, the city council, the same day we're up there bragging about 27 TDA taking off the street, making New York safer, they sued Mayor Adams to keep us out of Rikers Island. So I'll be going to New York tomorrow. This is just another example of sanctuary cities not cooperating with ICE. And look what happened. NYPD officers are attacked. If you're brazen enough to attack an armed law enforcement officer, you're much more dangerous to an unarmed civilian.
No, they'll have a knife at your throat in 2 seconds. What's your message to those 3 illegals? I hate the word migrant, by the way. I don't even want to use it. They're illegal aliens, okay? That's what they are. But
Right.
the 3 of them who are still on the loose, your message to them tonight?
We're coming for them. And these are the type, I want to explain something. These are the type of people that AOC brags while I'm educating people to their constitutional rights. We all know what she's doing. She's educating illegal alien criminals how to invade law enforcement. But you know, now I'm going to do a little education myself. You don't want to open the door. You don't want to answer a question. You don't want to help us with the travel documents and get you removed. That's a violation of Title 8, United States Code 1253. It is a crime, and we're going to start prosecuting those crimes tomorrow. So if you got a final order and you want to hinder your removal, you want to put roadblocks up and not cooperate, you want to hide, you want to not open the door, then the agency's going to start prosecuting you criminally. Then after you get out of jail from that prosecution, then we'll deport you. Game's over. We're going to look for these public safety threats, and we're going to take them off the streets in New York and every other sanctuary city. As a matter of fact, every sanctuary city, we're going to triple the workforce. We're going to flood the zone with officers. If we can't arrest them in the jail, we'll arrest them in the community. If we can't arrest them in the community, we'll arrest them at their work site. We're going to triple work site enforcement operations. We're going to flood the zone. We're going to take these public safety threats off the streets with your help or without your help.
Now, speaking of AOC, Tom, she actually mentioned you in a town hall last week. Watch.
When we first did one of these seminars, Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to DOJ because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people of their constitutionally guaranteed protections. And he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me.
Tom, come for me, she said.
I take pleasure. I can live with her mind rent-free every day. But we all know exactly what she's doing. Like I just said, she's educating the worst of the worst how to invade law enforcement. But the tables have now turned. She's educating people how to get prosecuted. Because you have a final order, it is illegal to not comply with that order. It's a crime to take steps to not comply with ICE removal orders or not comply with ICE actions take you in custody. You can't hinder your own removal that was ordered by the federal judge. I would like AOC to read Title 8, United States Code 1253, because it's starting tomorrow.
Do you anticipate other arrests of other judges across the country who are pulling these shenanigans by sneaking them out the back, Jack?
I think some sanctuary cities, you're going to see more judges make a very bad decision. I've said from day one, you cannot support ICE. You can support sanctuary cities all you want. But if you cross that line of impediment, which is a felony, if you cross that line of knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien from ICE, that's a felony. We're going to ask the DOJ to prosecute. I'm not a prosecutor, but we're certainly going to ask for those prosecutions. You know, the Democrats said forever, no one's above the law. No one's above the law, but they want a different set of rules for illegal aliens. You said it in your monologue. The whole zero tolerance thing, right? They didn't want families separated when a parent was prosecuted. Kids can't go to jail with parents. But as a cop, when I started my career, I separated U.S. citizen families all the time when a U.S. citizen parent went to jail. U.S. citizen families are separated 1,000 times across this country every day. But they want a different set of rules for the illegal aliens. And as far as removal of USC children, you're right. We sent 3 children with their mothers who requested their baby children go with them. If we didn't do it, then the story would be ICE is separating families again. You can't win with these people.
No, they keep contradicting themselves, but, you know, that's just the way their life rolls. Tom, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
The NYPD is asking for help finding 3 suspects accused of attacking police in Times Square on Friday night with makeshift weapons, including an umbrella, a basketball. What happened on Friday night was horrific. The officers, thankfully, are okay. 5 of the other suspects are in custody.
Our detectives got right to work and within hours identified members of a violent group known as Los Diablos de 42, a subset of Tren de Aragua. Several of them are listed in our gang database, and that's one of the reasons that we caught many of them so quickly.
Sources tell Fox the youngest suspect is just 12 years old. The New York Post reports that he was arrested last year when he was 11. The accused ringleader behind robberies in Central Park. NYPD Chief of Department John Schell joins me now. Good to have you back, Chief. Thank you for coming in today. I know you guys are busy. I guess there's a frustration on the part of New Yorkers as to why we can't round up these kids and get them off the street.
Well, we've been dealing with them for 2 years with Tren de Aragua. Same situation. These are violent. We call them kids. We like the kids are not violent, but they are. They're 12 to 19-year-old kids that are doing wolf-pack robberies. Can you imagine being surrounded in Central Park by 10 of these kids? Or on the subway like we show videos today?
Yep.
We have to come to the realization that some kids are very dangerous to our society and they have to be taken off the street and rehabilitated. One of the kids we arrested, of the 5 so far, back in November, tried to rob a 77-year-old woman of a chain on the subway. And when he couldn't get it, he pushed her onto the tracks.
Why was he back out on the street?
The juvenile justice system does not work in our city to the extent that it could. We want to help all kids. We don't arrest any kids, teenagers. But again, like I said, we got to come to the realization some of these kids are extremely
Why can't they be deported?
dangerous.
These kids are here illegally, correct?
Right, correct. We are firm in our stance, from the mayor to the police department. We don't care about your status. Your status is criminal. You serve your penalties, you go to jail for your crimes, and then if you're a migrant on top of that, you forfeit your right to be here. You should be removed from our city, from our country.
So why aren't they?
It's the process that I don't know why it's not working.
ICE, sanctuary laws, what's holding you back from, I mean, this group, if they're connected to Tren de Aragua, that is now considered a terrorist organization in this country. Isn't that enough to get them out?
Well, our sanctuary city laws are there. We cannot enforce civil enforcement. We can't. We work with our federal partners every day for criminal investigations, and when that takes place, that can take its course. But as far as the civil deportation, we are not allowed by law. We cannot. Under no circumstances are we allowed.
So there's a mayor's election coming up. Do you think that will change?
Well, listen, our mayor, Eric Adams, he's clear on this. He wants to be able to remove violent people from our city, regardless of who you are, right? Jail or
But
jail.
let's go over this again, because I just really want to understand. So these kids are throwing projectiles at police officers. They're robbing old ladies on the subway, surrounding people in Central Park. Why have we found them? And if we can round them up based on the fact that they are criminals, and you say the mayor wants to remove criminals, why can't we remove them?
Well, the criminal piece, they have to remove and go to, in this case, juvenile detention secure facilities until they serve their time in that arena. What ICE does outside of that, that's what they can do. We can't help with the deportation.
But they can all be sent to the juvenile center.
Absolutely.
If they're apprehended.
We need the judges to say, no probation where you can walk out. Some of you have to stay in a secure juvenile facility so they cannot harm New York City. These are our families, our friends, our kids. This is not acceptable under any circumstance. And when you walk through the timeline of what happened the other night, our cops standing their foot post, a big boxing event going on.
Outrage.
A Wolfpack tries to attack 3 kids. We get pelted, but our gang database allowed us to know who they were within hours.
Which some people want to get rid of, including someone who is second in command in the city, right?
Our city council wants to get rid of our gang database.
Yeah,
our gang database saves lives.
Wake up. Okay. Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. Let's hope you can, your guys can round these young people up so they're no longer a threat to them or anyone else. Thank you very much, Chief.
So another element on the immigration crackdown unfolding here in New York City. The mayor, Eric Adams, now appealing a temporary court order that keeps federal ICE agents off of Rikers Island. That's the city's largest jail. It's an island itself, right? Preventing the arrest of criminal migrants. Meanwhile, another island, President Trump is pushing to rebuild and reopen Alcatraz as a federal detention center. That place has been closed for more than 60 years. Former New York Mayor Bill de Blasio is back with us today, and retired NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow. And gentlemen, thank you for being here. Very interesting debate. Want to get into it right now and let you guys want to hear you out, okay? When Tom Homan was when he was nominated for his current position, what he said was repeatedly is that if you do not give us access to the prisons in America, we're not going to get the criminals out of America who he expects to do harm if free. Right now on Rikers Island, which has worked pretty well, I do believe, and I think it was your order that ordered it closed. It hasn't happened yet, and the idea was to build 5 different jails, 1 in each borough throughout the city of New York. Paul, to you first. I don't believe the city of New York is going to allow Homan access to Rikers Island. It's going to take a judge on a very high post to grant that. If you do not get access, what happens to the safety and security of the people here in New York long term?
So under New York City sanctuary laws, you cannot notify ICE unless the perpetrator has A, been convicted of a crime, and comes under the rubric of a series of violent felonies. So what happens? Almost uniformly in this city, excuse me, if you're charged with a felony, it gets knocked down to a misdemeanor. So right there, we can't notify ICE, okay? So that's off the board. So when you read about wannabe gangsters who were getting rolled up in Times Square, as we saw recently, who were 12, 13 years old, the reason you can't notify is because they are not convicted yet. There's no place to put them in the juvie system, and that's why they're right out. So under the law, you're not allowed to put, that is the New York City law, you're not allowed to put ICE in Rikers. You can't pick them up on the street because there's nobody to notify. They go in, they go right back out. Right now, as we speak, the most protected class in all of America is an underage criminal migrant in New York City. 3 hots in a cot, we welcome you here, and there's no mechanism to get them out.
3 hot meals in a cot. Got it. Okay.
3 hots in a cot. Okay. Any response to that? But also, what was the thinking behind closing Rikers and putting more jails within where people live?
Well, Rikers is a mess. It's 85 years old, I think, the facility. It's been horrible for the people who work there, for the correction officers. It's been horrible for the inmates. We've seen a huge number, unfortunately, of deaths and suicides there. We've seen a lot of violence towards correction officers, which is absolutely unacceptable. But a lot of people believe across the spectrum it comes back to this horribly ancient facility that's just not built for rehabilitation, doesn't work for the people who work there. And so what we said is, let's decentralize this, build modern jails that actually can support the work.
I think that makes sense. The problem, the pushback on that would be, well, we'll just make improvements to Rikers. You know, Rikers does not interfere with a single neighborhood in New York City. But if you were to take the plan and close it and open up 5 different jails, well, now you're impacting 5 different neighborhoods.
Yeah, Bill, I think part of the issue is, what are we trying to do with the correction system? Why is it even called the correction system, right? So I think there are some bad people in the world. We might all agree on this point. I think there are some bad people.
Including these criminal illegal migrants.
Well, listen, I'm saying I'm not someone who believes everyone can be turned into an angel. I do believe there's a lot of people's lives can be turned around. I think that's the whole reason it's called a correction system rather than just, you know, you're locked up for the rest of your life no matter what you did. So the idea is, do we have jails that actually help us to get people to become good citizens again, or do we have jails that are only making it worse? I think Rikers is one of those places that just doubled down. If someone went in a criminal, they became more of a criminal while they're there. So the idea of these borough-based jails, 1 in each borough, is make it a better modern facility that could focus on rehabilitation. Also, you want people's families to come visit them. You want to get people to want to be part of the community again and be normal citizens again. That was part of the idea.
Okay, but just on the ICE factor, do you understand what Paul is saying? That like, it seems like it's out of balance, that the criminals are giving all of these opportunities, and the citizens of the city are saying, what about us?
Yeah, no, Paul's got a good point. I have no problem when, and thank you for your service to New York City, by the way. I got no problem when someone says, something's broken here, we need to fix it. Clearly, look, the idea of the law we passed said, here's 170, I think that was number 170 violent or serious crimes. You do one of these things, you should be deported. We'll call ICE. We'll say, please take this person. But we believe in due process. And this is a fundamental question we all have to ask ourselves as Americans. For 250 years, our Constitution has said we don't make decisions just based on allegation. We do it when there's actually been due process. And that's for everyone, right?
Okay, all right. So
But to finish the point, I think Paul's got a good point. The juveniles end up being in a particular category that we need to address better. And I don't like, we've seen too much revolving door in New York City and New York
All right,
State.
but Mr. Mayor,
I think some of our state laws need to be fixed.
One
too.
was 16, one was 17. You signed the raise the age law, so
No,
we can't do
my
anything
friend.
with those two.
Whoa.
Raise the age in New York City.
Raise the age is the state of New York. That was Andrew Cuomo. I want you to.
All right, so
get us,
but you,
I know
supported
Italians.
it. I read your statement. You supported it. Number one. Number two, in moving the jails to the boroughs, your administration cut the jail beds 30 to 40%. You're saying you believe that there are people who are bad in this world. Right now, we got 6,500 people in Rikers. We don't lock anybody up now. We're going to go down 3,000. Most of them are going to have to be murderers. And by the way, again, it's only upon conviction that we're going to get them out.
Murderers
so as a result, they're still running around.
Murderers don't go to Rikers. You know a lot about the criminal justice.
They do when they're arrested, and they do when they're down to be adjudicated.
And where do they go after that? To state
They go
prisons,
upstate, and then they come down to be adjudicated.
And what's happening now in New York City? I give Commissioner Jessica Tisch, the NYPD commissioner, a lot of credit, and the women and men of the NYPD. Crime has gone down precipitously, especially this first quarter of 2025.
Needs to go down more.
100%, Bill. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. But this quarter had the lowest number of shootings in the first quarter of a year in history in New York City. Something's working. Let's give credit where credit is due.
A lot of things that aren't working are the quality of life problems, where you cannot actually. You could. It's.
Wait, that's a different topic, though, Dana.
I think it is the same. I think it's related.
Topic. Of course it is. It's the same revolving door. You have migrant crimes who are coming in who are underage or even of age, right? There's nobody to notify. So as a result, we don't lock anybody up, but we do lock up the toothpaste. You've seen the videos. They come in, they walk right out. There's absolutely no recourse. And the idea was, we can't notify ICE because migrants who have been the victims of crimes are going to be afraid to come to the police. Now, that's laudable. The problem is this. They prey upon their own, and the victims know it. So the victims of the crimes are afraid to go to the police because they know this guy's going to get right back out. He's going to come back out at me. And by the way, look at what happened in Milwaukee. With that judge, what she did, that's institutionalized in New York City law. You can't come into my court.
The judge who allowed the defendant to walk out the back door.
Right. You have to have a judicial warrant, not an administrative warrant. And furthermore, you can't come in a city courtroom. So as a result, she grabs him, she snakes him out the side door. The victims of the crime, 2 women, and it's always women.
They're sitting in the courtroom.
We're sitting in the courtroom. That's literally the law in New York City. That's what we aspired to. That's what we're living with.
No, I disagree with that.
Gentlemen, listen, this is a great discussion.
We got to have a rematch.
One that will continue, and we can do round 2 next time, okay? But
lots
Paul,
at stake.
Bill, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
So much at stake.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.